On Thanksgiving, my parents kicked me out. "This is our thanks for your little support," they said. I said I stopped paying the bills and left, but they laughed. But when a month later, Thanksgiving was supposed to be about family, about giving thanks. Instead, my dad looked me dead in the eye in the middle of dinner and said, "You have to leave." I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. What? My mother avoided my eyes. My younger brother and sister kept their heads down, pushing food around on their plates as if they wanted to disappear. My dad, on the other hand, he looked calm, as if he had already made up his mind. "This is our thanks for your little support," he said, shaking his head. I let out a short laugh, thinking maybe this was some kind of weird joke. "What the hell are you talking about?" My dad leaned back in his chair with his arms crossed. "You're not pulling your weight, Jack. You've been here for months, and we don't see much help from you." I stared at him. Not pulling my weight. I had been living with them for a few months, yes, but I wasn't just some bum sleeping on their couch. I had a full-time job. I paid for groceries, not just for myself, but for everyone. I paid for takeout when they didn't feel like cooking. I even paid the internet bill because my younger siblings needed it for school. And that doesn't even count the times I helped with gas money or car repairs when my dad complained he was short. I wasn't expecting a medal, but to be told I wasn't helping at all? That was insane. I scoffed. "Are you serious? I've paid for stuff." "Not enough." My father cut in. "You're a grown man. You should take care of yourself." And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about me staying in their house. This was about the conversation we had a few days earlier. They had asked me to pay for their vacation. Not just a weekend trip, but a full-blown luxury resort, including flights. They wanted me to pay for the whole thing. At first I thought they were joking. When I realized they weren't, I told them no. My dad's face went dark, and my mom gave me this look like I had personally insulted her. After that, things got weird. They stopped talking to me as much, and now, suddenly, they were kicking me out. I exhaled slowly. "So this is about vacation, huh?" My mom pursed her lips. "Jack, family supports each other." I laughed. "Yeah? And what exactly have you done to support me?" My dad slammed his hand down on the table. "Enough. If you're not willing to help, then you can leave. Simple as that." I shook my head. "Fine. I'll go." I looked between us. "And I'm done paying for everything. No more groceries, no more bills, no more helping out." That made my dad laugh. "Go ahead, loser. See how long you last." I looked at my younger siblings. My sister was staring at her plate. My brother wouldn't even look at me. No one would stand up for me. That night I packed my things. It didn't take long. I hadn't really settled back in, always assuming this was temporary. I found a cheap place in the next town, not great, but mine. And then, for a month, nothing. No calls, no texts. I figured they had washed their hands of me, and honestly, I was fine with that. Until one night my phone rang. I saw my mom's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer it. But something told me it wasn't just a random call. Something was wrong. It had been a month since Thanksgiving, and I hadn't heard a word from them. Not one call. Not one text. At first, I kept checking my phone, expecting my mom to reach out, maybe even my sister, just to see how I was doing. Nothing. I told myself I didn't care, that I was better off, but it still hurt. I had spent months helping them, making sure my younger siblings had what they needed, paying for things without being asked, and the second I stopped, it was like I never existed. But honestly, after a while, I began to enjoy the silence. My apartment was small, a little rundown, and I could hear my neighbors through the thin walls, but it was mine. No one asking me to pay for their groceries. No one expecting me to pay their bills. For the first time in months, my paycheck actually lasted. I could buy things for myself without feeling guilty. Then, out of nowhere, my phone rang. I had just sat down with a plate of leftover takeout when I saw my mom's name flash on the screen. I just stared at it for a second, confused. They hadn't called me once since I left. Not even to see if I was alive. And now, suddenly, they were reaching out? For a moment I considered ignoring it. Let it go to voicemail. But something felt wrong. I sighed and answered. Hello? There was a pause at the other end. Then my mom's voice came through, softer than usual. Jack, we need your help. I almost laughed. Now they needed my help? What, did your vacation plans fall through? I said, not bothering to hide the sarcasm. She didn't respond. Instead, she just said, It's Ryan. That made me sit up. What about him? She hesitated. I could hear muffled voices in the background, my dad saying something I couldn't make out. Then she said, He lost $25,000. I felt my stomach drop. He what? He gambled, she admitted. I ran my hand over my face. Ryan was barely old enough to drink, let alone gamble. But 25 grand? That wasn't just losing a few hundred at poker, this was serious. How the hell did he even get that kind of money? I asked. He borrowed it, she said. Her voice cracked slightly. I closed my eyes. Jesus Christ. And now, she continued, he owes it all back. And we don't have it, Jack. We're completely out of money. I sat back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. A month ago, these people had laughed in my face when I said I was done paying for everything. They had thrown me out on Thanksgiving. And now they were suddenly desperate for my help because my idiot brother had gotten himself into massive debt? It would have been so easy to hang up on them. To tell them it wasn't my problem. Let them deal with it. But in spite of everything, I couldn't. Ryan may have been stupid, but he was still my brother. And if he had borrowed that much money, it wasn't from a bank. This was bad. I exhaled slowly. I'm coming over. I could hear the relief in my mother's voice. Thanks, Jack. I didn't answer. I just hung up, grabbed my keys, and walked out the door. I had no idea what I was walking into. But I did know this was just the beginning. The drive back to my parents' house felt strange. I hadn't been there since the night I left, and I honestly never thought I'd be coming back, at least not so soon. The neighborhood looked the same. A few houses still had Christmas lights up, even though it was late December. The same old beat-up cars were parked in the driveways. Everything was just as I remembered it. But somehow it felt different. I pulled into the driveway and sat there for a second, gripping the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to turn around and drive away. But I sighed, got out, and walked to the front door. Before I could even knock, my mother opened it. She looked exhausted. Jack, she exhaled. Come in. I stepped inside. The house smelled the same, like cinnamon air freshener, and whatever cheap candle my mom always bought. But the energy was completely off. Ryan was sitting on the couch, hunched over, staring at the floor. My dad stood near the dining room table, arms crossed, looking pissed. Nobody said anything for a second. Then I asked, All right. Someone tell me what the hell happened. Ryan didn't look up. My mom sat down next to him and rubbed his back like he was a little kid who just skinned his knee. My dad was the one who responded. Your brother was an idiot. That's what happened. Ryan finally spoke, his voice low. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I stared at him. How do you accidentally lose 25 grand? He let out a shaky breath. It started small. Just a couple hundred. Then I won big, so I kept going. He finally looked up at me, his face pale. And then I lost everything. I shook my head. Okay. But you didn't have 25 grand to lose. So who the hell gave you the money? Ryan hesitated. My dad answered for him. He took out a loan. Something about the way he said it made my stomach turn. What kind of loan? My mom spoke up quietly. Not a bank loan. I felt my jaw tighten. So what, some backroom loan shark? No one answered, but their silence told me everything I needed to know. Jesus Christ. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Okay. And when exactly is he supposed to pay this back? End of the week, my father muttered. I let out a slow breath. And you have nothing? My mom shook her head. We're already maxed out on our credit cards. We don't even have enough for next month's rent. I leaned against the wall and took it all in. A month ago, they called me a loser and kicked me out. Now they were drowning in debt, desperate, and expecting me to fix it. I had the money. Not all of it, but I had been saving since I moved out. I could cover at least half of it. But should I? They had left me high and dry without a second thought. My dad had literally laughed at me as I walked out the door. But Ryan, he was different. Yes, he had been a jerk, but I could see the fear in his eyes. If he owed money to the wrong people, it wasn't just a lesson he could learn from, it was dangerous. I exhaled sharply. I can cover some of it. My mother breathed a sigh of relief. My dad didn't say anything. Ryan just nodded, his eyes still on the floor. I'll wire you 12 grand, I said. That's all I can do. My mom grabbed my hand. Thank you, Jack. I pulled away. Don't. Just make sure this never happens again. I turned to Ryan. And you? You're gonna pay me back. Every damn cent. He swallowed hard. I will. I didn't believe him, but I'd deal with that later. For now, I had just bailed them out. And even though I knew I shouldn't have, I couldn't help but think maybe, just maybe, that it would change things. Little did I know how wrong I was. I wired the 12 grand that night. My mother almost cried. My dad mumbled what I think was a thank you, but he could barely look me in the eye. Ryan just nodded, still looking sick to his stomach. I didn't stay after that. I made it clear that this was a loan, not a gift, and that Ryan would pay me back. No one argued. As I drove back to my apartment, I told myself that I had done the right thing. It wasn't about my parents, it was about Ryan. He was my brother, and as much as I wanted to let them all drown in the mess they'd made, I couldn't sit back and watch him get hurt over something stupid. A week passed. Then 2. Then a month. And nothing. Ryan hadn't sent me a dime. No calls, no texts, nothing. I waited, giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was back on his feet. Maybe he was working things out. Then one day, I finally broke down and called him. He answered after a few rings. Hey, Jack. I got right to the point. Where's my money? There was a pause. I don't have it yet. I clenched my jaw. You said you'd pay me back. I will, he said quickly. I just need more time. More time? I scoffed. Ryan, it's been a month. You haven't even sent me $20. He went quiet. I could hear background noise, video game sounds, maybe? He wasn't even working, was he? I felt my patience break. You're screwing around, aren't you? No. I'm trying, man, I'm just Ash. I cut him off. I don't care about excuses. I bailed you out. I didn't have to, but I did. And now you're just ignoring it? I'm not ignoring it, he snapped. Things have been hard, okay. I laughed bitterly. Yeah? Well, things are going to get a lot tougher if you don't start paying me back. Silence. I sighed. Whatever. Just figure it out. And I hung up. I expected at least something after that. $100 here, $50 there. But still nothing. A week later, I decided to try my parents instead. If they had money to bail him out, they could help him pay me back, right? So I called my dad. As soon as he answered, I got right to the point. Hey, I need to talk to you about Ryan's debt. My dad let out an exasperated sigh. What about it? He hasn't paid me anything. Not a dime. So? I paused. What do you mean, so? You gave him the money. That was your choice. My grip on the phone tightened. It wasn't a gift. My dad let out a dry laugh. Well, that's your problem. I thought I misheard him. Excuse me? You chose to help him, my father repeated, as if explaining something to a child. That's on you. Don't come crying to us about it. I was so stunned I didn't even know what to say at first. Those were your exact words, I finally said. Family helps each other. That's what you told me when you kicked me out. But now that I need help, suddenly that doesn't apply? Jack, you're an adult, he said, his voice sharp now. Handle your own problems. I let out a short laugh. Wow. So if you need money, the family helps each other out. But when I do, I'm on my own. That's life, he said dismissively. You don't like it? Too bad. I felt pure rage creep up my spine. They had begged me to come back. Begged me to save them. And the moment they got what they wanted, they turned their backs on me. Got it, I said coldly. Enjoy your life, Dad. I hung up. I sat there for a minute, staring at my phone, trying to process just how deep their selfishness ran. And that's when I realized something. I wasn't going to let this go. Not this time. They thought they could walk all over me. They were about to find out how wrong they were. I sat in my apartment, staring at my phone, replaying my father's words over and over. Deal with your own problems. That's life. They really thought they could just use me and toss me aside. That I'd keep playing their game, keep bailing them out while they walked all over me. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I wasn't going to let this go. I spent the next few days thinking. If Ryan wasn't going to pay me back and my parents were just going to shrug it off, I needed another way to get my money. And then an idea hit me, one so simple I couldn't believe I hadn't thought of it before. I still had access to my parents' Wi-Fi and cable accounts. I had set them up when I lived there. The bills were always in my name because, I was the one paying for them. And guess what? They had never changed the billing information after I left. So I logged on and canceled everything. Internet? Gone. Cable? Cut off. Streaming services? Disabled. They were officially off the grid. I sat back and waited. Sure enough, my mom called the next morning. Jack, she said, her voice already annoyed. The internet's down. I played Clueless. Huh. That's weird. She sighed. Can you look into it? Your sister has schoolwork and we can't even watch TV. I smiled. Oh, I already know what happened. What? I canceled it. Silence. You what? She finally said. I canceled everything. Internet, cable, Netflix, whatever you were using, it's gone. Jack, she gasped. Why would you do that? I leaned back in my chair. Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I was still the one paying for it. But your sister needs it for school. Then maybe, I said slowly, you should pay for it yourself. I could hear my father in the background. What's going on? Jack canceled everything. My mom hissed. Good. I heard my dad scoff. We don't need him. I laughed. Yeah? Let's see how long you can go without Wi-Fi. My dad grabbed the phone from my mom. Listen, you little. I hung up. That should have been the end of it. But I had no idea what would happen next. A few days later, I came home from work and something felt wrong. My apartment door was unlocked. I always locked my door. Always. My stomach turned as I slowly pushed it open. And then I saw it. My apartment had been trashed. Cushions thrown everywhere. My laptop missing. My drawers ripped open. My TV was gone. I stood there stunned. And then it hit me. This wasn't some random break-in. This was them. My family had broken into my home. And I had just declared war. I stood in the middle of my trashed apartment, my heart pounding. My laptop gone. My TV gone. Drawers pulled open, clothes thrown everywhere. I clenched my fists. I knew who had done this. This wasn't some random break-in. This was them. My own family. I took a deep breath and called the police. When the officer arrived, he took one look at the mess and asked if I had any suspects. I didn't even hesitate. I think my parents and my brother did it. He raised an eyebrow. Family? I nodded. I used to live with them. They kicked me out, and now we're not exactly on the best of terms. I explained the whole situation, the money, the Wi-Fi, the debt. They probably thought it was revenge. The officer took everything down, then asked the big question. Do you want to press charges? I hesitated. Not because I had any doubts, but because this was a big deal. If I pressed charges, this wouldn't just be some family drama, it would be real. But then I thought about it. They had broken into my home. Stole from me. After I bailed them out. After I helped them when they were drowning in debt. And the worst part? They probably thought I wouldn't do anything. That I'd just take the hit, like I always do. I met the officer's gaze. Yes, I said. I did. The next day, the police went to my parents' house. I wasn't there, but I got a call from my mom right after that. Jack. She was practically screaming. What did you do? I leaned back in my chair. You broke into my apartment. You stole my stuff. What the hell did you expect? It wasn't a big deal. She shot back. You just what? I snapped. Taught me a lesson? Took back what you thought you deserved? Tell me, Mom, do you even feel bad about this? She went silent. Then, in a lower voice, she said, You didn't have to call the cops. I laughed. Oh, so if I help you, I'm family. But when you rob me, I'm supposed to let it slide. It wasn't robbery. She tried to argue. The cops disagree. She huffed. Jack, we can fix this. Just drop the charges. No. Her breath caught. What? I said no. She gasped as if I had just slapped her. Jack, this is serious. Your brother. I gave him 12 grand. I snapped. And he still hasn't paid me back. Now he's breaking into my house. I'm done. Silence. Then she tried one last move. The guilt trip. You're really going to do this to your own family? I took a deep breath. No, Mom. You did this to yourself. And I hung up. The cops found my TV and laptop at a local pawn shop sold in Ryan's name. That was all they needed. Ryan was arrested for burglary, and my parents were charged as accomplices. My grandparents found out soon after. And that's when everything changed. Because they were furious. And for the first time in my life, my parents were about to learn what real consequences felt like. I didn't go to the court hearings. I didn't have to. The evidence was airtight pawn shop records, security footage, everything. Ryan pleaded guilty, probably thinking he'd get off easy. My parents tried to argue that they didn't know what he was doing, but nobody bought it. They all got probation. No jail time, but they now had criminal records. And that was their problem. Not mine. The real fallout came when my grandparents found out. I don't know who told them, probably one of my aunts, but when I got a call from my grandfather, I could tell he was furious. Jack, he said in a raspy voice, is it true? Did your parents and Ryan steal from you? Yes, I said. It's true. There was a long pause. Then, very quietly, he said, they will regret it. I don't know exactly what happened after that, but my grandparents went off to war. They cut my parents off completely. No more help with the bills. No more covering for them when they screwed up. My dad had always relied on them when things got bad, but now, he was on his own. And then, the icing on the cake, my grandparents paid me back. Every single cent that Ryan owed me. They told me they didn't want me to carry that burden. That I had done more than enough. And they made one thing very clear. They weren't doing this for my parents. They were doing it because I was the only one in the family who had acted with any integrity. That was the last time I talked to my parents. Ryan texted me a half-assed apology a few months later. Probably something my mom forced him to do, but I didn't respond. After all this, I realized something. I had spent years trying to help people who would never help me in return. And I was done. From now on, I wasn't anyone's savior. Not their safety net. Not their ATM. I was going to live my life for me. And if my parents ever got into trouble again, they could handle it themselves.